So hi, this is Dee with University of San Diego Career Development Center. Welcome to Alumni Zoom Trips, our virtual interview series with USD alumni experts about the latest information and updates regarding COVID-19 and how to navigate the many uncertainties of the current job market created by the global health crisis. This program is co-hosted with the Office of Alumni Relations. Joining me today for the first in our four-part interview series is Andrew Holets, CEO of ProKids, that offers educational and recreational programs designed to empower underserved youth in San Diego. Andrew holds a master's in nonprofit management from USD and has served in the Peace Corps in Kazakhstan and as community development volunteer in Germany. So Andrew, it's great to see you again. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure, it's good to see you, Dee. Hello, everybody. So my introduction was great, thank you. So my current role, I get to be CEO of ProKids, First Tee of San Diego. It is a nonprofit here in San Diego that challenges underserved youth to excel in life through education, life skills, and the game of golf. It's a little bit different using a sport that I think has a lot of institutional assumptions about it. We flip it and we try and make it more accessible, democratize the game, but really it's all about giving opportunity for kids through education and careers. I moved to San Diego about 10 years ago. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, so I still have a lot of East Coast roots, but got smart and came out here in the sun after a lot of really cool trips around the world during my time in Peace Corps and also briefly when I worked in Germany. So I love San Diego. I'm a proud Torero. I love being part of the Souls graduate a couple years ago. Met a lot of good colleagues there, some really wonderful people. I love running. So especially it's one of the few outdoor activities that we're allowed to do at the moment. So I'm very thankful for that still. And I'm a proud dad. I have two kids, a 6-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son.
Okay, well, thanks so much for that background. What was your experience at USD like?
So my experience, I was looking for a way to really hone the professional skills and the networking skills that I thought needed to get me to the next level. So I was like, mid-level manager at the YMCA of San Diego County, specifically for the Coffee YMCA that's in the heart of City Heights. And I just knew I had to continue something. I already did some great education at other institutions, but the Souls program, it was small group oriented. You could really interact well with people. There was a lot of case studies. I just thought it was just a way to get better. And so my experience was I was a full-time student and then part-time. I would finish up work at 5:45. I'd hop on the 8. I'd fly right down to USD's campus, get ready for class at 6 o'clock, and bam. So it was full time. I also had both my kids during that time, so I lived life a lot at that time period. But what is cool, but because it's a small group, the professors know you well. They understand what you're going through, and the work is immediately applicable.
Well, thanks so much for that background. So given that the COVID-19 is in the forefront of people's minds, I'm going to start out and ask you, what kinds of challenges has the pandemic created for your organization and how are you addressing those?
Yeah, I mean, the immediate is that it creates a high sense of anxiety. So we work with youth, and our program is predominantly after school. Within the after-school setting from kids as young as 7 years old all the way through the end of high school. And also we provide college scholarships. So because of the pandemic and the rightful choice to have non-essential businesses closed, we did close our business. So we did close our after-school program. So we have no kids. So that right there causes a lot of sadness because when we miss them, we miss being able to work with them and help them grow. But also, especially for hourly employees, they no longer have their immediate job in place, or at least the most obvious statement towards it. So for my team, a lot of them are anxious. Well, do we have our jobs? When we do have our jobs, what are we doing? So it's really trying to communicate as clearly as possible what are the certainties and uncertainties. And then, of course, as most nonprofits, their business model is based upon philanthropy. And so with the entire economic
Economy
ramifications.
suffering.
Yeah, it causes a lot of anxiety there. So trying to create a sense of calm, focus, transparency, but also plan ahead because there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to what revenues are in the future. So it's pretty much everything that goes along with it. But you have to go about it with a proper attitude and prudence. So I could talk about what it's changed for a long time, as imagine everyone here could.
I'm curious, have you transitioned some of your youth programming to online platforms? Or how are you adjusting your programs and services to, based on the current situation?
Yeah, more and more organizations, whether it's schools, after-school programs, education, really most businesses are moving online, and rightfully so. So we have pivoted in two main ways. One, we want to address the kids who still need support. And so we've worked on instructional videos on our YouTube channel. The rest of our team who work predominantly in our learning centers are trying to cultivate, curate, and even create their own types of socio-emotional learning videos. On a more direct human version of it, aside from the e-learning, we have also pivoted to provide an emergency food distribution through drive-through at both of our campuses. So, some of our staff go there. I was there earlier today, where we do provide food because with schools out, there's already a huge amount of food insecure youth in our county. And now they don't have school access, that just skyrockets even more. So it's kind of twofold. We are moving our program online, but also being able to meet the immediate need of hunger for kids.
Absolutely. Okay. And how do you assess the impact of COVID-19 on your particular sector, the not-for-profit sector, but also industries around the world?
For nonprofits, in the immediate, it gives a lot of uncertainty as to how they can provide, how they can deliver their programs. So many of nonprofits are the front lines. They are providing very meaningful services that improve the quality of life for people who need it the most. And now we're unable to do that, at least in the way that we've traditionally done it. So that has really upended a lot of work. God bless everyone who's still in healthcare and everyone else, and they're doing some meaningful work, and we hope they all come out of it safely and soundly. The other aspect of it is kind of touching on the economics. When a lot of business models, there's a large portion that is based upon grants or individual donations or corporate donations, and everyone does not exactly know how long they'll be able to invest to provide that type of support that's meaningful. So you can't press people to help even though you're in high need, because everyone's suffering in some way, shape, or form.
Experiencing the same thing. Yeah. And how would you, what would your advice be to students and alumni who are currently navigating this uncertainty created by the global crisis?
Well, for everybody, it's good to just take a breath, I would say. That's first and foremost, just as a human. But for anyone who's maybe looking to get into the nonprofit sector or move a certain way, I think patience is really important right now. But at the same time, don't be afraid to be creative and add value however you can. If you're able to work remotely, if you're able to take on a new scope of work, so say, for example, maybe you've been mostly in direct programming, but you know that there's uncertainty of the business-wise. So maybe you can start doing some research for grant funders. You can help messaging. You can help create those online platforms for learning. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, most businesses, if you're looking for a job and maybe you don't get that call back, don't take offense to it right now. Everyone is kind of totally thrown off in their normal workflow, but keep heart. No matter where you are, it's not the same experience, but I kind of entered the workforce here in the United States during the economic crisis back in 2008, 2009. And I was in Philadelphia, and I must have applied to well over 100 different nonprofit agencies. And, there were certain times where you get a little distraught about it, for sure. And that might happen for many people. But we're all going to bounce back from this. So I'd say patience, I think, is really important right now.
Okay. And the students should continue applying, those interested in not-for-profit sectors. They should continue their networking and continue their job applications.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a time where those relationships can be forged for a long time. You put people who are in a shared experience together and they come out of it with some type of positivity, that's a lifelong friend. That's a trusted partner. So if that's someone who if you volunteer at a place or if you work at a place and you continue to support however you can in a realistic manner, you're going to have probably the strongest network you could ever imagine. And another thing to consider is that the nonprofit sector is always needed, always a needed part of society. We are providing direct services for those who, for whatever reason, are unable to do or are unable to achieve those things for a lot of different reasons. In a crisis, that type of person who has that type of open heart and open will and open mind and has perseverance and resilience to do the work, needed more than ever. So I wouldn't be surprised if nonprofit opportunities grow significantly over the next few months and years, because people are going to need support and they're going to need people who are smart and savvy and caring and have that endurance to do it.
And then I'm curious to know how you personally operate as a leader and what lessons, if any, in leadership you have obtained as a result of this crisis.
Well, I think to take a page from some of the books at USD during my time at Nonprofit Institute, you definitely this is the time for adaptive leadership. You never quite know exactly what's coming up next, but you also want to be patient with yourself and be able to, and even though there's a lot of urgency and uncertainty, be able to know what your triggers are as a leader that would cause you not to make the best decision. So building trust is really important right now with my team, with my board, with even our families and our volunteers. Being very candid and transparent and communicating more often than not. Over communication is so important when people are uncertain about things. You don't overshare. You don't overshare your own personal anxieties, but you show that you're a leader. I think in this crisis, that's really what I'm trying to do is in difficult choices that thankfully our organization is a good spot and we have a good culture that we're trying to keep all of our staff whole for all their hours as long as we can. And there's a lot of good things coming through to help with that. But being open about that decision-making process, trusting the people around you to provide their insight. Ask them before you say, oh, we're going to sacrifice. You have to understand what it really means to them on a human level. And then also never, ever, ever be afraid to ask for help. That is a lesson that has taken me a couple years to learn. And I still have to remind myself, when I first got this role as CEO, I'm not saying I was overconfident, but I had confidence. And you want to show that you can do it. But especially in a crisis, don't fool yourself and think that you have all the answers.
And seek help.
Seek help, absolutely. Don't be afraid to lean on people to simply say, you know what, I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts? And even when you do know, when you have 99% certainty that you've already come to the right decision, turn to those people who are your trusted advisors, your board members, your colleagues, and say, you know what, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing, but what do you think? Am I missing something here? And you'll find that even if they disagree or agree with you, all of a sudden you're building trust. And that's what a leader really is focused on doing, building trust.
Thanks so much for that insight. So my next set of questions are more focused on your personal career journey. What is a typical workday like for you?
Well, nowadays I get up, I make coffee, I walk around the block, and I go into my garage, whereas my new office. But most of the time, most days we have two locations, one in City Heights, off 52nd University at Queen Park, and then one up in Oceanside by Camp Pendleton. There's a golf course and learning center at both locations. So I roll into the office. I make it a point. I try and greet every single staff member to begin with. You want them to have that personal connection. And usually it's it's trying to focus on the immediate strategies, not go to inbox 0 on my email and answer all that first. I want to write down what are my goals for the day, and give a good 20 minutes to that. Then I want to, of course, answer my emails and respond to people, because people who are the same thing, if you should be able to ask for help, and if people ask you for help, you need to respond. So I try and be responsive in the morning right away. And then usually I just go around to my team and say, what are you working on today, and how can I support you to be successful? So a lot of this is the case. And then, of course, later on in the day, after researching our grants and contacting our funders and thanking our volunteers, I want to make sure the kids are good. So checking with the kids, making sure they're happy, they're enjoying their golf class, how they're doing in school, what challenges they're facing at home, wrap a little bit with them. And then just like, I try and journal every day too. At the end of the day, I have a little ping that comes up at 4:45 that says, make sure you take 10 minutes to write down how your day went. So it's a mixture of planning, prioritizing, not getting too distracted, connecting with people, asking how they're doing.
How big of a team are you? What's your team size, Andrew?
We have 30 staff members altogether. So
Okay.
we have about 20 at our City Heights location, and a little less than 10 or so at our Oceanside location. So 30 altogether.
And how many kids are you servicing?
So our membership was well over 500 kids every day that we have between our sites as youth members, all ages from 7 to 18. And then we do in-school programs where we do golf and life skills classes in the schools, predominantly in City Heights, Mid-City, and Oceanside. So our main focus are kids who are probably coming from Title I schools or Provision II schools. So those are schools that are on the free and reduced lunch program. But San Diego is awesome and is dynamic, and City Heights and Oceanside are such cool communities that you have people from all over the world. Sometimes they're first generation Americans, and you just have such a dynamic mixture of folks. And so anytime you can work with kids who are who are trying to grow and learn, it's awesome.
And then can you tell me a little bit about your hiring criteria and sort of hiring timeline, when you do actively hire?
So when it comes down to it, like most of our hires are rolling. So we don't have any, in August, we're looking for new teachers, because our program is kind of broken up into two program focuses. One would be our learning center. So this is providing the after school tutoring, academic support, life skills workshops. And then we have our golf and life skills portion. So usually it's as needed. We like to keep a good ratio for our kids, whether it's 12 to 1 or so for our classrooms. So anyone who has a heart for tutoring, a background in education, in youth development, particularly very appealing and very attractive candidates for our program. Same goes if you happen to be involved in coaching or that type of youth development. That's magnificent. And then we have a large portion of our another third part of our group is the kind of administrative and nonprofit strategy and operations. So if you have a mind for operations, for finance, for grant writing, for communications, for marketing, for media work, even for kind of like database work, we want to track how our program is doing and measure our impact. All of that's really important. Those roles, we definitely seek out people who have some sense of experience. It doesn't have to be 10 years of experience. We like creative people. We like people who are culture fit, who bring a lot of innovation. But then for the most part, because we do emphasize education, if you're in the learning center space or if you're on the administrative side, usually having at least an undergrad bachelor's degree is wonderful. If you have any experience with nonprofit work, with community work, that's a huge plus. And what's cool is that a lot of our staff are from the neighborhoods. So if you have a good sense already of what the needs are for youth in San Diego County or similar urban environments, that's a plus, huge.
Okay, wonderful. And in your opinion, what are the skills for the future of work in the not-for-profit sector, and how would you advise building them? I
think most nonprofit professionals will say that I'm someone who wears many hats, and that's true. You don't have to come into a job being able to do a little bit of everything. I think you need to, I think it always helps to be nimble, to be open-minded, and to be collaborative. There's always going to be competition in the workplace. There's always going to be competition in nonprofit because many people, especially in cities like San Diego, they're vying for, for funders or anything else on those lines, or for marketing time. But I can tell you, you go a lot farther. I mean, it's the old adage, you get a lot more flies with honey than vinegar. It's absolutely true. If you are a collaborative spirit, you do so much better than just a competitive spirit. So if people are able to be nimble, can show that they bring value, and that they care deeply about the mission, they're always going to have a job. You will always have a job.
Thanks so much for that. And what is your work atmosphere, your culture like?
It's a ever growing trusting environment. So a lot of us collaborate with one another. I think it has become a very strong intersupportive team. So everyone sees the value in everyone. So I mean, we have staff members who, I mean, their job is maintenance of the golf course, and their title is like mower, right? And that's not a sexy title, right? But all of us absolutely adore one another's work and respect it. And it's probably more common than one would think, but it's a beautiful thing to be part of an organization where everyone's respected, everyone is looking to find insight, to pass something by one another, and everyone's there for the right reasons. And it's never taken advantage of, because some people think if you work in a nonprofit, just because you care so darn much, you don't deserve the same type of compensation or anything. I can tell you with us, we want to show that value in every single choice that we make for one another.
Okay. And then finally, what do you see as your industry's biggest challenges?
I think in the immediate is harnessing creativity to meet this moment. How do we serve kids? How do we serve populations of need when you can't always be physically there, and it's not the same way? And a lot of the times nonprofits, they have to show their work by showing their impact, right? And that impact sometimes manifests itself in pretty big numbers. So they want to say, okay, we served X amount of kids, we served X amount of meals, we saved X amount of trees, whatever it is. In the people-related business, those numbers are going to be completely flipped. So now the challenge is, how do we actually measure how we're improving the quality of life? And that's a very unique challenge. I think everyone should be excited about it. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough one for everybody.
Okay. Well, Andrew, I'd like to thank you so much for your insights and for your time. And just to end with, if our students are interested into breaking into the not-for-profit world, can they connect with you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interested in offering them mentorship and support?
Absolutely. I mean, I think San Diego is a big city with a village feel. And I'm always happy to connect with anybody, whether you're a Torero or not. We're in this together. So please reach out.
All right. Well, Andrew, thank you so much, and hope you remain well and healthy and safe out there.
Same to you, Dee. Take care.